How's it going, my peeps? It is now time for the Night of Champions 2013 results / highlights and review video. I'll go over the results, some of the highlights in my opinion, and give you guys my thoughts on the show. So it kicks off with, of course, the kickoff. The Superstar panel this time, we talk about the matches, promote the matches, were Alex Riley, Josh Matthews, and Booker T, as well as Santino Marella. And they talk about the matches. Also, afterwards, there was a backstage segment with Paul Heyman just sitting there, and he looked nervous. Not looking forward to the match. Brad Maddox walks up to him and he tells him what's wrong. And pretty much, he doesn't want to be in the matchup and, the handicap elimination match. And he says, you know what? He gets an idea. He says, what if I, get myself disqualified? So then if CM Punk attacks me after the match, it's assault and he could file a complaint, this and that. So Brad Maddox thinks about that and he's like, you know what? That's not what's best for business, so he actually makes a matchup, a disqualification match now. And after that, it was time for the Tag Team Turmoil match. And the way this match worked, it was pretty much like a Royal Rumble, but for tag teams. So two tag teams start the matchup. First two tag teams were Tons of Funk and 3MB, and Tons of Funk won the matchup. They pinned 3MB, so 3MB are the first team eliminated. It was Heath Slater and Drew McIntyre representing 3MB. And then 3MB get mad, so they started tagging Tons of Funk, and then the team afterwards comes out, which is the Real Americans. They come out, and they take care of Tons of Funk, they attack them. Eventually, Jack Swagger locks in the Patriot Lock on Brodus Clay, and Brodus Clay taps out. The team that came out afterwards was the Usos. They come running down the ring. Right away, they backdrop, and Antonio Cesaro and Jack Swagger outside the ring. One of the Usos jumps onto Antonio Cesaro, while the other one, I think he hit a moonsault on either Jack Swagger or Antonio Cesaro. I don't know, but they both jumped on both of them. And eventually, in the end, though, Jack Swagger once again locks in the Patriot Lock, and one of the Usos taps out. And then the Primetime Players come out, and Jack Swagger also locked in the Patriot Lock, both on Titus and Darren Young, but they didn't tap out. And eventually, Darren Young gets the hot tag. He gets in, and he hits the gut check, his finisher for the 1-2-3. So it's gonna be the Shield versus the Primetime Players. After the kickoff, the actual show kicks off with Triple H coming out, and he talks about, he actually, talks about the main event, and he says, just so people realize that I'm not the bad guy, the main event, there's going to be no interference, nobody, so Shield can't interfere, nobody's going to interfere. And then Paul Heyman and Curtis Axel come out before Triple H leaves, and pretty much it's Paul Heyman still trying to get out of the matchup. Curtis Axel grabs the microphone and says, do you find this funny, to Triple H? And then he tells Triple H, it's because I beat you the first night I became a Paul Heyman guy. I beat you, and he said the date and where he beat him. And Triple H is like, wow, you remember the date too? And at some point, when Paul Heyman was talking to Triple H, he said Triple H is making a mistake here. So Triple H says, oh, you know what? I think there was a mistake made here. And he says, this is Night of Champions. Every single championship is supposed to be on the line. So then he tells Curtis Axel that he's going to be defending the championship, and he's going to be defending it right now against whoever he runs into first when he goes to the back right now. So Triple H leaves, and once he leaves, Kofi Kingston comes back out. And I was expecting Kofi Kingston, since he did beat Curtis Axel in 2 non-title matches. Now, as far as the match goes, it was a pretty good match. Very back and forth, and it was actually longer than I thought it would be. And in the end, the way the match ends is Kofi Kingston runs towards the turnbuckle. Curtis Axel runs right after him. Kofi does one of those things where he tries to go behind Curtis Axel by jumping from the turnbuckle or whatever. But Curtis Axel catches him in an electric chair position. Kofi tries to get out of it by punching Curtis Axel a couple times. Curtis Axel lets go of Kofi Kingston, but lets him go onto the rope, so Kofi falls neck first onto the top rope. And then Curtis Axel hits his finisher for the 1-2-3, wins the matchup. After the match, Paul Heyman still looks worried though, because there were a couple close calls in the matchup, like when Kofi hit what's that? Not Trouble in Paradise, but the other finisher. I can't remember. Oh, SOS, yeah. Anyways, after that match, backstage, they showed Rob Van Dam with Ricardo, and he's asking Ricardo all these words and how do you say them in Spanish. Like, how do you say 5-star frog splash in Spanish, this and that. Ricardo tells him. And then he tells him, how do you say World Heavyweight Champion? And Ricardo says, oh, that's easy, that's universal, it's RVD. And then after that, you had AJ backstage, and she tries to talk to Alicia Fox, Oksana, and Layla to help her out with the matchup and stuff. But they actually all refuse and don't want to help AJ out with the match. So AJ gets angry. And then after that is the actual matchup. And there was a cool spot in the matchup where Natalya actually locked on a double sharpshooter. She had both. I think it was Brie Bella and who else was it? Brie Bella and I think it was Naomi. Or no, wait a minute. I think it was Brie Bella and Naomi both in the sharpshooter. So a pretty cool spot there. But in the end, actually, AJ gets Natalya in the Black Widow, and Natalya taps out. I was actually expecting AJ to pin somebody else or submit somebody else, because I thought maybe she was going to face off against Natalya at the next pay-per-view, but I guess not. And then after that, it was time for the World Heavyweight Championship matchup. And this was a long match, and Del Rio locked in the cross armbreaker. I'm talking about the ending here. He locked on the cross armbreaker. By the way, Rob Van Dam did go for the 5-star frog splash, but Del Rio got his knees up. That's when he locked in the cross armbreaker. And Rob Van Dam ended up getting to the ropes and breaking it, but Del Rio wouldn't let go. So referee counts, of course, and he counts till 5. And when he counts till 5, disqualification. So it's disappointed at the finish. I was hoping, for either Del Rio to win or Rob Van Dam to win. But yeah, so Rob Van Dam wins by disqualification, though. After the match, Del Rio's not done with Rob Van Dam. He wants to hit him with a steel chair, but Ricardo stops him. RVD takes out Del Rio, then he sets him up in the corner. And Ricardo grabs the steel chair, puts it on Del Rio's face. Rob Van Dam goes from the top rope on the opposite side and hits the dropkick onto the steel chair, the Van. I get confused when it comes to Rob Van Dam's moves. It's either the Van Daminator or the Van Terminator. I don't remember which one it was. I'm sorry. It's one of the two. So correct me in the comment section. Tell me which one it is. He hits it, and he poses with the championship afterwards. I'm sure the feud between the two isn't over after the DQ win for Rob Van Dam, but I was kind of hoping one of them would win by pinfall or submission. So afterwards, you had Curtis Axel and Paul Heyman backstage. Curtis Axel's looking all happy, while Paul Heyman not so much. And he pretty much tells Axel, he needs to win this, and that, if CM Punk gets his hands on Paul Heyman, then Paul Heyman won't be able to be alongside or come alongside or be at ringside with Curtis Axel anymore. And he tells Curtis Axel, he's always believed in him, but Curtis Axel has to believe in himself too. And then after that, you had Triple H backstage. And then Randy Orton comes up to him, and he tells him, why did you, make the stipulation where nobody can interfere? And Triple H says he just wanted to know if he chose the right guy in Randy. And Randy says he did, and then he leaves. And then we get an unannounced matchup. It's Fandango versus The Miz, or actually Fandango. I don't feel like saying it. Fandango versus The Miz. Miz ends up winning with the figure 4. And then following that is actually the CM Punk versus Curtis Axel and Paul Heyman handicap elimination match. And I was actually expecting this match maybe to be more towards the end, like after the Shields matches or after one of the Shields matches, and then they could have one of the Shield matches in between that and the main event. But it looks like I was wrong. So anyways, the match was, of course, mostly CM Punk and Curtis Axel fighting. Although in the beginning, CM Punk took out Curtis Axel pretty quickly with the kendo stick, because he came out with the kendo stick. And then he went outside, grabbed Paul Heyman, and before he could do anything, Curtis Axel, attacked CM Punk. So after that moment, it was just Curtis Axel and CM Punk the whole way, or the entire match until CM Punk eventually hit the go to sleep and then locked on the Anaconda Vice and made Curtis Axel tap out. After he makes him tap out, Paul Heyman had a priceless face on, all shocked. Paul Heyman has some pretty good, facial expressions when it comes to these things. So anyways, he grabs Paul Heyman and hits him with the kendo stick. Also, actually, you had Paul Heyman try and he hugged CM Punk, come on, we're friends, this and that. CM Punk was laughing during the hug, and he starts beating him up with the kendo stick. Eventually, CM Punk pulls a handcuff, some handcuffs from his boots, and then he handcuffs Paul Heyman with his hands behind his back, and then he starts beating him up some more with the kendo stick. And then Paul Heyman's on the ropes, and CM Punk's about to deliver the last hit with the kendo stick. But we then see Ryback behind CM Punk, and CM Punk turns around, and actually I think I saw the referee point at Ryback, but anyways, CM Punk turns around, and Ryback then spears / spinebuster through the table. There was a table on the corner on the turnbuckle, and Ryback speared CM Punk onto that, or hit a spinebuster. I don't know, kind of looked like a spinebuster, kind of looked like a spear, a mix of both. Kind of like when Batista hit the spinebuster / spear on Elijah Burke when he jumped off the turnbuckle. To this day, nobody knows if that was a spear or a spinebuster. Same thing with what Ryback did. So, he hits it on Punk through the table. Punk is knocked out, and he's actually bleeding from his back. And then he grabs Paul Heyman and just drags him, puts him on top of CM Punk, and referee counts 1, 2, 3. Paul Heyman wins the match up. After the match, Ryback just drags Paul Heyman out of the ring and puts him on his shoulders in like a running power slam position, but just walks with him towards, the back. So, like I said in my prediction game video, I was expecting somebody to help out Paul Heyman. I was thinking maybe Wade Barrett's, somebody new, or actually Ryback, although I didn't say it in the video. I promise you guys, I was also thinking Ryback. I was thinking it was either going to be Wade Barrett or Ryback. And if not one of those two, maybe somebody from NXT or something like that. So, I'm interested in seeing, what happens now that Ryback is a Paul Heyman guy, or a client of Paul Heyman. Is Curtis Axel going to remain a client of Paul Heyman or not? Is there going to be tension between Curtis Axel and Ryback? I don't know, we'll see. Anyways, after the match, CM Punk is all pissed, and I think there was a referee checking on it, and he was like, leave me alone, and he pushed him back. Or actually, it was one of the dogs or whatever. Anyways, after that, it was time for the United States Championship matchup, and in between, all these matches, they would ask who is the best United States Champion, who's the best WWE Champion, and they had those polls, and if, the fans could vote, and Sting won the best United States Champion one, and also there was a tag team one, which I believe DX won. Pretty much it was one for every single championship. And anyways, that aside, as far as the match goes, pretty back and forth matchup. Ziggler went for signature moves. I believe he did not connect at all with the Faymaster. And he didn't connect with a zigzag either. Anyways, in the end, Ambrose hits his finisher on Ziggler, gets the victory. And really, there wasn't any false finishes in the matchup, so there wasn't any moments where you're like, oh, Dolph is going to win this. But, Dean Ambrose won the matchup, and then right after he wins, the Shield come out, but they don't attack Dolph Ziggler, they just celebrate with Dean Ambrose, and while they're doing that, I think they showed another poll for who was the best tag team champions, and then the Primetime Players came out for the matchup against the Shield. In the match, by the way, the Primetime Players are pretty over with the crowd, like, bunch of people doing the dances, they're getting pretty good pops when they come out, and even when Titus O'Neil does the, I don't want to do it, but, the bark, crowd does it with him. So, anyways, in the end of the match, Darren Young was taken out by, I think, a Roman Reigns. I think he clotheslined them or something like that. And he rolled him back in the ring once he did that. So Darren Young was down in the ring, and he wasn't the legal guy. The legal man was Titus O'Neil, and I believe Seth Rollins. Yeah, Seth Rollins. And so the referee is kind of distracted with that. He's trying to get Darren Young out of the ring. And while he's doing that, Roman Reigns rolled back in the ring behind the referee's back, speared Titus O'Neil, and then right away rolled back out of the ring on the other side. And Seth Rollins went for the cover, and they won the matchup, retained the tag team titles. Following that, they had another pool for the WWE Championship this time, And they showed that the winner was actually Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan got 55% of the votes. And in the same poll was Triple H, who got 4%. You had CM Punk, who had 12%, and John Cena, who had 13%. And after that, of course, Daniel Bryan came out, Randy came out. Before the matchup, they had, a video package showing what's been happening since SummerSlam between the two, the feud. But anyways, decent match. Not as good as Daniel Bryan versus John Cena at SummerSlam, in my opinion, but it was good nonetheless. So, in the beginning, actually, the match was pretty action-packed, where Daniel Bryan took out Randy. Actually, Randy got out of the ring, and Daniel Bryan hit like 2 suicide dives in a row, because he hit a suicide dive. Randy's back in the ring, then he's back outside, so he hits another one. He connects successfully, and then Randy goes outside once again. So Daniel Bryan goes for another suicide dive, but this time Randy Orton catches him with a punch. So, anyways. You also had Daniel Bryan going for a top rope suplex, and he hit the top rope suplex, but he hanged on. I think he did the same thing when he faced off against John Cena at SummerSlam. I don't know, but he did it recently. And so he hanged on, and then he followed that up with a top rope headbutt. Another highlight of the match was also Randy hitting the DDT from the apron onto the outside, but he's been doing that a lot more often now, it seems. Anyways, as far as any finishers go, Randy did not connect with an RKO, although Daniel Bryan did lock on the yes lock. Randy, though, got to the ropes in time, so Daniel Bryan had to let go. In the end, Randy went for the RKO. Daniel Bryan reversed. Daniel Bryan pinned Randy. Randy kicked out. Daniel Bryan went for a kick to the head, which connected, and then he followed that up by going to the corner, doing the yes taunt, hitting the running high knee. He goes for the cover. Oh, by the way, I freaking forgot to say this. By the way, during the matchup, at some point, the initial referee, was Scott Armstrong. And I don't know how I missed it, but I missed it. I at some point in the matchup, I'm looking at the referee and like, wait a minute, this is not a Scott Armstrong. This is somebody else. And then I saw Scott Armstrong. Actually, before I realized the different referee, I saw Scott Armstrong. They showed him on the outside being checked on. And like, wait a minute, what happened to Scott Armstrong? When did this happen? And then in the ring, it's a different referee. I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? And eventually, Scott Armstrong replaces, or comes back in the ring, and the other referee leaves. And then Scott counts once Daniel Bryan hits the running high knee. And the count was pretty damn quick. It was a quick count. It was like 1, 2, 3. So I was expecting, something to happen. Daniel Bryan won the championship. First off, just Daniel Bryan beating Randy, I was not expecting that. That was a surprise. But the fact that Scott Armstrong did a fast count, I was like, all right, this is not over. Triple H is probably going to come out, or somebody's going to come out and reverse the decision, restart the matchup, or something like that. And I'm waiting. Daniel Bryan's celebrating. He's celebrating with fans. But nothing's happening. And nothing ends up happening. The show ends with Daniel Bryan celebrating as the new WWE Champion. So that was unexpected. That was a surprise. I mean, I'm happy Daniel Bryan's champion. That's cool. But I'm sure it's not... Something didn't happen tomorrow. On Raw. I don't think just Daniel Bryan's the new champion and that's it. I think maybe Triple H is going to call out Scott Armstrong, on Raw or something like that. Maybe even strip Daniel Bryan of the championship. Who knows? We'll have to see on Raw. So, highlights of the show. Well, match of the night, I would say maybe Daniel Bryan versus Randy. Maybe even CM Punk versus Curtis Axel and Paul Heyman, just because it was entertaining seeing CM Punk finally get his hands on Paul Heyman. And now that Ryback is a new Paul Heyman guy. What's going to happen there? Pretty disappointed with Del Rio versus Rob Van Dam. Especially, the ending of the matchup, disqualification. But I did like, Rob Van Dam hitting the dropkick on Del Rio at the end of the matchup or after the match ended. Overall, when it comes to my thoughts on this pay-per-view, I definitely enjoyed SummerSlam a lot more. SummerSlam was a lot more enjoyable to me. SummerSlam was a great pay-per-view. Non-champions, though, I don't know. I mean, I like Daniel Bryan become the new champion. But as far as the matches goes, nothing stood out. Well, apart from Daniel Bryan winning the championship, but nothing was crazy good. Like, wow, that was amazing, or this and that. So, my final rating for Night of Champions, I'm gonna give it a 6 on 10. So I think that's a good rating for, how I feel about the pay-per-view. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And by the way, in the comment section, tell me what you guys thought about Night of Champions. I mean, I gave it a rating. Give me your rating. What do you give it on 10? So, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, as always, you can click that like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. And with that said, I'm out, guys. See ya.